Okay, so here's our topic today. We are talking about simple and compound interest. This will be one of those days where I want to kind of get you back into the swing of things, but also talk about new stuff today, which is basically those savings accounts, those funds where the accounts grow. They're actually they're accruing money over time. So I want to get to that today. I know that we've been talking about this chapter 10 that we're in is all about investing and all that.
Isn't the simple interest formula though?
So
A equals P.
Yeah, so we got a couple of things we got to talk about here. So yeah, let's get to the simple interest first. Let's just start right in on it. Simple interest formula. Let's do the formula for that, and we'll do an example of it so you can kind of aware of it. Simple interest formula, if you don't remember,
A equals P.
I believe the formula I use is I is equal to P times R times T. Yeah. So simple interest formula. The I again in this formula stands for the interest that you're growing. So it's the interest or the extra cash you're paying. I always call it the extra. It's the fee that you're basically paying.
E then.
Yeah, I know. I agree. E in mathematics stands for something else, so that's why they probably don't. Let's see. What are we on to now? P stands for the principal amount. This is the amount that you're borrowing. So it's the borrow amount. So the amount you're going to borrow. See, R, rate. That's the interest rate. And T is time.
Time in years.
So T is time in years. Time. And this years. Now, you don't actually have to go years. You could go months. I've never seen an account go months. If you're only going months on a simple interest loan, don't take the loan. Just save your money over a couple months, and then you don't have to pay any extra. It won't be a lot, but I would just save. Unless you actually need it. Because I could understand maybe like your car pretend you need it fixed now. Because they did do for a while there during kind of the major recession back in like 2000. It's like 2008-ish kind of. It was right near the end of the Bush administration where we're having a mini recession and stuff, and they were doing microloans, really small loans you could take out. It was helping banks build up interest, where you could take a loan for just a few months, and it would be really low interest rates to try to build the economy back up. Pretty interesting concept. I think there was something there that they could use, but they were trying to get people to take out responsible loans instead of the housing market crash that happened a couple years later, where they were just loaning out massive amounts of money to people that had no reason to borrow that type of money, and they couldn't pay it back. I think the microloan idea was kind of a smarter idea. That was just my personal beliefs, but yeah, it was like maybe you needed to fix up your house or fix up a car, and you just need a little bit extra cash. I think it was a really interesting way to build the economy back up. Yeah, this is for anything like you're going to borrow a loan for like a car, a computer, an appliance, something that's not long term. Again, what I've talked about before, we went on spring break, something that's maybe less than 6-year loan. If you're taking out a vehicle, less years the better. That's what I always kind of tell people. So I'll just make an example. There's a vehicle that I'm interested in. I'm always looking at new cars. Let's take a look at it. So let's say the car that I want to look at is no. I really want a Tesla. I can't afford it. I just know that. Unless I buy a really used one, which I don't want to do that. So let's say the vehicle I'm looking at is $29,000. Let's say that's the price, kind of a pricey car. The interest rate, let's say that I could get 3.5%. So 3.5%. So this is 3.5. It's 0.035. It's not 35, so don't put 0.35. It's 0.035. That's again, this represents 3.5% interest. Obviously, this is the amount that I'm borrowing. And then years, let's say I want to go like a 5-year loan on that vehicle. This is a brand new Trailblazer. They just had a nice looking one. I was looking at kind of what it would cost, and well, here's the exact numbers. This will help me out and give you guys a chance to see some real numbers in action. So if I get 3.5% for 5 years at $29,500. If I multiply that, 29,500 times 0.035 times 5, this ends up being $5,162.50. Not a good loan. To me, that's not a good loan. That's a lot of money. That's $5,000 extra for that loan. Now you're thinking, well, that wasn't even. Think back to the examples we did like the week before spring break. 3.5% was kind of the lower number on that week.
5 years.
5 years, and what else? A ton more money. Think about the loans I was taking out, before spring break. I was taking out loans that were like $2,500, $3,500. Like, this is $30,000. That number jumped significantly. To me, I wouldn't take that loan. That's just me personally. Just because $29,000 is kind of a lot, just for that 3.5%. Now, 3.5% is a good percent. That's a good percent, which is sad to say. That's a good percent, but that's a lot of money just to get that car now. I'd probably just save up a few years. So I'm probably not going to go with that loan, just to be honest. Now, the thing that does interest me, though, was when I looked at some of the dealerships around here, they offered 0% interest.
For 1 year.
For 72 months. 6 years. Now we're talking my language. What's 0%? That's $0 extra. They just need to sell the car. Now we're talking my language, because now I'm not paying any extra cash. No extra. Because this money, keep this in mind, like this $5,000, this number is being added. This is being added to my $29,000, right? So, theory, when I'm paying the banks back over 5 years, is this: I'm paying $34,662.50, right? And if I want to figure out monthly payments, divide by 12, divide by 5, I'm paying $577.71 per month. I don't want to do that for 5 years, and I can't miss a payment. I don't want to do that. Now, here's the thing: if I chose to go to one of the other dealers, I have certain dealers I like to work with. They offer 0% interest. That's $0 extra. They just need to get cars off their lot. They're sitting on cars that they have to pay for, right? So they know they need to get rid of them, right? Because the weird things about dealerships is for them to get new vehicles, they have to sell vehicles. If they can't sell vehicles, the dealerships, like the major companies like Ford, Chevy, they won't give them new cars to sell. That's when you see a dealership slowly dying. They can't make sales, so that the dealerships won't be getting new cars. And it happens.
Or they take them the cars that they can't sell to auction.
Yeah, they take them to auction and they lose a lot of money on them. So, 0% interest, that means I'd be paying $29,500 for a new car. No extra. It'd be just $29,000. If I divide by 12, divide by, let's say, 6 years, that's $400 payment. But I'm going an extra year. That's $400 as opposed to $577, and I'm not paying any extra. Now my interest is peaked, because now I'm saving a lot of money, and I'm just getting the car at cost. And the best news is, if it's at 0%, maybe I can haggle a little bit and I don't have to pay $29,000. Maybe they're willing to get rid of it for cheaper, because that 0% interest tells me they're a little desperate, and maybe I can make some extra cash on this vehicle. So, honest things I'm thinking about right now. So, because there is a vehicle I want to look at. So, I like my car, but at 0% interest, I could get a new car. Maybe. Save some
What
cash.
car are you looking at?
Trailblazer. It's over in Clear Lake at Pritchard's.
Newer one?
Yeah, new. Brand new. So,
Well, those are pretty sick.
they're nice. It was fully loaded. That's the only reason why I was looking at it. So,
You don't have to worry about the kids fighting
A little
over
more
the-
room.
yeah, a little more room. So, a little bit bigger than my little Buick outside. So, but again, do I want another payment? I don't know if I want another payment, but it is a nice car. But anyway, honest things I'm thinking about. So,
You can just trade the other car for that one.
yeah, that's what I was thinking about. But I got to run it by the wife. I haven't even talked to the wife yet.
She's crazy.
I know. I get myself in trouble this way. All right, let's move on. All right, so let's talk about a compound interest.
Lord's
Now,
gears are sitting there.
I know I'm always looking at new cars. Now, let's take a look at compound interest. Yep, different formula completely. You're absolutely right.
Equals P plus, or
All right.
A
All right.
equals P in parentheses 1 plus N divided by T to the RT, I think. Or,
Yeah, you were on it. All right. That's a weird brown color. A is equal to P 1 plus R divided by N to the NT. You're absolutely right. So here is the compound interest formula.
this is the one that bites you in the butt.
Yeah, this one. This is the scary one. This type of loan is student loans, medical bills, credit cards, and mortgages on a home. So they use
I don't even
compound.
want to think about my medical bills and that.
Oh yeah. No, you don't. No, you don't.
I
So
know mine are like
Okay.
$5 million.
whew. Okay. All right. We got real there quick. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a principal. So let's say you're going to a major university. So we're gonna do a student loan here. So what? Say it again.
UCLA, like 40 grand a year.
40 grand a year. Okay, we're doing it. Okay, 40 grand a year. Let's say you're gonna go there for 2 years. Let's go just 2 years.
That might be
Okay.
a state too.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So let's say we went to NIAC, the responsible thing, or some community college, DMAC or something like that. You saved a little bit of money. Maybe they paid for that because you got good grades and whatnot. So they paid for your stuff. So then you transferred to UNC. Is that what you're saying?
ULCA.
ULCA. Oh gee. Okay. Okay. So we're going to ULCA now.
Is that one of the radiation?
Okay, so we're going there. It's 40 grand a semester, or a year. Sorry, 40 grand a year. So it's 80 grand for 2 years if we're gonna get a 2-year degree. Okay, thanks. Yeah, we have new signatures. So here we go. It's right there. So back row. So back over right next to the marker board, right there. Okay, so welcome back. Okay, so. All right. So, what we're going to go there for 2 years. So we're going to have 80 grand worth of student loans. Now, here's the sad news. Sad news. Interest rates right now, they're coming down. The last administration for presidency brought down some of the interest rates a little bit lower, which is a good thing. But low doesn't mean very low. In fact, a low interest rate right now on student loans is about 6%. It's a little high. During the Bush administration back when I was just about to graduate, my interest rates were really low. They were at 1.7%. 1.7 when I graduated. So then I consolidated at that point, so it locked in my interest rate, so that I saved a lot of money. And then the next year, student loans jumped up to 9.
Next year?
The next year, at those next graduates, the next year, it went up to 9%.
Oh.
So right now, I think the last number I saw last semester was 7, but I think it came down. I think it came down to 6 something. All right, so let's say 6%. So 0.06%. Now it's 12 because they always charge you per month if you don't pay off your student loan, which that to me is ridiculous. And then you're gonna have a 12, and then for the time now, student loans.
2 years.
20-year loans. They're no. 20-year loans on a student loan. 20-year loans. That's what they go for. Some go up to 30 if you have a certain one. Some, they're 15, but that's more like a private loan. So 20-year loan. Now, again, this is just to show you a realistic way of thinking about student loans. Okay, now this, say it again?
12 times 20, right?
Yeah, it's 12 times 20 in that power. So you're absolutely right. So so plug in these numbers. So this is 80,000. 1 plus, now I'm going to type in that 0.06 divided by 12. 0.06 divided by 12 is 0.005. Okay, that doesn't look too bad yet. And then up in this power, this thing is 24 with a 0 after it, so it's 240. That's 12 times 20. And now doing the next number here, this is 1.005 when I add those two numbers together. And now this is the part most people mess up on. You got to put it to the 240th power. So this is the part I'm going to show you on my calculator. So I'm going to type this number in right here, this number in and put it to the 240th power before I take it times 80,000. Okay? Before I really scare you. Okay? So this, don't get me wrong, this is a bad number, which you're about to see. So I'm going to type this in here just so you can see this. 1.005 to the 240th power. So I'm going to show you on my calculator. So if you're borrowing one of mine, you'll do it the exact same way. All right, so here we go. 1.005. Now, how I put this to the 240th power, they have this little caret key. It's right there. Little caret key. You're going to hit, I hit the division button. I don't need that. I'm going to hit this little caret key, that button. So it puts it up in power. It's just this little arrow key right there. And it makes me put a little power. So I'm going to type in 240. Now I'm going to hit enter first so I can see that number. 3.31.
Oh, you're going to take that times 80? Oh,
times 80,000. So after 20 years, here's what you're paying.
Yeah, I'm not going to college.
After 20 years at this university.
That was 2 years.
That was 2 years, mind you. 2 years, you're at $264,000 in student loans. Now, let me write that number down. So I multiply this out. So $264,816.36. Okay. Now, maybe you're going to be a radiologist. You might make that back in the first, 10 years.
Maybe.
Now, here's the thing. You're not paying that all back, in 1 year or two. You're paying that back over 20 years. So that's what you're paying overall. So the idea is that if you divide this number by 12 and you divide by 20, you're paying about $1,000 a month in student loans. Okay, but in a radiologist, they could be making $5,000 a month. So
Radiologist was, I think,
35,000 a month. So that's nothing, right? So thinking $1,000 out of $35,000 a month, you're like, that really isn't anything.
Where
Like,
if you did that, you could
so
do part of it.
yeah, so you could be paying it off really quick. So you could pay more and you'll pay it back faster. But that's the idea. It's like, this is the realist. This is the thing I want you to think about. Student loans are not free. Now, they catch up with you 6 months after you graduate. The first bill comes in saying, hey, here's what you owe for the rest of 20 years every month. So,
Kind of like you've got stuff.
oh yeah, like I found that out real quick when I graduated 6 months after. I didn't even think about it. It wasn't even on my radar. I got the first bill in the mail. I'm like, that just took out half my paycheck, and I have to pay that back. So I had to sell a couple cars because I had a couple loans out there, and so I could make those payments. Right? That's something I want you to be aware of before you have to do something like that.
Just stick to your 2 year and have it paid for.
Yeah. So that's why I'm trying to be that advocate. Like, community college is a smart idea. Like, save a ton of money, figure out what you want to do, figure out your career. If you're going to go that path, you don't have to. I mean, you could go into a trade school that will pay you to actually learn and get a nice career. These are things I want you to think about before you just decide, like, oh, I'm just going to do that university route because that's what everyone tells me to do. That might be not a smart route. Okay? Just think about this now. If I went to Iowa State University today for the 4.5 years that I did, it's a very different ballgame, right? I was paying $12,000 a year.
Way more expensive.
It's double that now.
You're paying 30 grand a year.
Yeah, it's 12 a semester. It's 24 a year now. It's doubled literally in price for the same education. You have the same professors, same exact workload that I had.
What did you say yours was for?
It was 12 a year.
Yeah, but what's the total loan?
Oh, okay. So 4.5 years. So it was 12,000 a year times 4.5. I had 56. I had about 60,000 leaving there. It was about 62, I think, because I had room and board and I had other things that were on there.
You could double that now.
Well, yeah, it would be doubled. It literally would be doubled. So it would be 120. So you'd take that times 2. So it'd be about 112, 113 now in 4.5 years. Well, if you ran it through this number, you're looking at more than that. Because look, this was 80,000. Iowa State for 4.5 years would be 112, 113. So you'd have more. And the interest rate, and I typed in 6%, it could be higher.
Minimum wage is still the same.
Minimum wage is still the same. Now you're thinking. Now you're starting to think. Okay, that's why when you go into a career at a university, you should honestly be thinking about, okay, what job is coming out of that when I leave? Before you walk into the university, you want to have this idea, like, this is the career I want to go into. Here's what it pays on average. Maybe not, I won't get that in every state. But can I afford the student loan? Because if I was deciding to be a teacher today at Iowa State, I probably wouldn't do it today
Yeah.
because I couldn't afford it today. And that's something that they need to realize. They're going to see a shortage in major careers because no one can pay the student loan. And the thing that I have a big problem with is, why are they charging interest on a student loan?
So you can get their money back.
They need
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, they don't need money.
Yeah.
Why do they make money off of a student? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You're just here so then they
So I have a huge problem with that. That's just one of my. I understand that institutions need to make money. I understand that they have to pay employees, but you don't need to make $260,000 off of an $80,000 loan.
That's almost triple.
kinda,
It was literally tripled.
That's ridiculous.
It was 3.3.
sorry.
That's why you see executives at banks flying private jets and living in 13 different homes throughout the U.S. Like that's a big problem to me. I just have a major issue with that because it's not helping the person taking out the loan that they need that loan for, to get a career.
Should be a salary cap.
Yeah, like they have to think about this realistically. They're going to get themselves in a pickle because universities are losing people. They are, right? Iowa State's population or the student enrollment is down compared to previous years because people can't afford it. Especially in the job market, and they're pricing because when a university loses student population, they raise tuition to make up the money. Because they have to pay their employees, right? They have to pay the professors.
Eventually, though, they're just going to keep raising it.
Exactly. They're going to catch 22 now. They're going to keep raising it because they need to make up the difference, and they're going to have less and less kids.
God, my kids are going to be like 55,000 a year.
Yeah.
Oh.
So think about that. So I'm already worried about my own kids. Right? I'm worried about my two boys. Like if they decide to go to universities, like I have to start saving now, just so they can.
Or do what your parents did.
Or and just be like, well, you're on your own. Yeah, literally, that's what my parents did. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, it's a little scary. Like, that's a realistic thing that you have to think about. Now, again, this is just a student loan. This applies to credit cards, mortgages. Applies to any type of any object that is a major loan that you have to take out for multiple years.
My kid's going for like 7 to 8 years to be a vet.
Yeah, that's terrifying. The balance that will be on that account. So you want to get as many student loans as you can, or not student loans, but grants and scholarships and like grades are kind of an important
I
deal
don't
now.
think I'd go to college if it
So-
cost me $300,000.
Yeah. So anyway,
Just
okay.
learn it off YouTube.
Okay, so now let's talk about these things because this is the whole point of like this account, this unit, right? Accounts, right? You can have a savings account that makes you money. It's not a big percent; it's a small percent, but it's based on a certain number of compound. Now I'm going to show you the compound interest, but there's
You
a
have to
different
have, like,
formula.
A lot of money
So-
in your savings.
Yeah, to make a lot of money, you need to have a lot in there. Now, there is a different formula for this, just so you're aware of this. There is what they call a continuously compounded formula, which I'm going to show you right now. This is a different formula. So this is a continuously, I think I spelled that wrong, continuously compounded formula.
Is that where you just got to keep making things?
So no, this is on accounts for that accrue money. So like if you leave money in a savings account, what the banks do is they borrow money from your account if it's stayed dormant over a certain time frame. It has to be like 6 months to a year, and then they start borrowing money from your account. Banks do this, and then they loan that money out to people that are taking out loans. And when people pay their loans back, you get the interest in your account. That's how savings accounts work. They're borrowing money from your account and other people's accounts, not just all of your money. They take out little pieces, and then they give you the amount of money that they're making back on the loans, right? So some of this interest, this scary number, right? The banks are taking some of that money, paying their employees, paying their executives, but also taking some of that money and dumping it into the accounts that they borrowed money from. So that's how you make money on a savings account. That's what got people in trouble during the Great Depression, is because banks were doing this, right? They're borrowing money from people that were leaving money in their accounts and they're loaning it out, and then the recession hit and the banks couldn't pay the people that they borrowed the money back from. So everyone lost their money, like everyone. So that's the scariest thing. So now that everything is like federally insured, FDIC, where it's they have backup cash in case we go through something like that again. I think most banks around here are like up to what, $100,000 or something like that. You don't want to put anything more than 100,000 in those accounts because you could potentially lose it. That's basically what they're telling you.
FDIC was 250,000.
Only on bigger banks. So like if you go to like Wells Fargo or something like that, like a major university, or a major bank, like let's say our Farmer State Bank, they only go 100,000. Or maybe Clear Lake Bank is kind of bigger. They might be able to go maybe 200 maybe. So every bank is different. So that's something you got to check. Yeah, they have a little plaque and so good point. Now the continuously compounded problem is different. It's still based on this. So it's just a little bit different. And this graph, you were kind of on point when you asked about a certain letter earlier. This is the formula that I'd like you to know. You were actually pretty spot on with a part. This is the formula. It has an E in it. Now the R and T are in the powers. So E is there's an actual E button on your calculator. It's called the natural number. So if you're not familiar, it's an exponential growth problem. It's where things grow. And so let's say you have a certain amount of money in your savings account. So let's say you saved up some money over a couple years and you have $1,000 in there. Let's say you have $1,000. Okay. You have $1,000 in your savings account. You saved over a lot of birthdays and some other things you've been working. Maybe you've been working on a side job and you've been saving up some money a little bit. You have it in your little savings account. You have an E. The E stays an E. It's an actual button in your calculator. I'll show you here in a second. And then the R is your interest rate. Now on a loan through like a savings account in a bank, this rate is really low. It's 0.5%. 0.5%. It's 0.5%. So if I move that decimal over 2 spots, it's 0.005. It's a really small number.
Unnoticeable.
Yeah, it's almost unnoticeable. And then we take it times time. So let's say you left that money in an account for
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, let's do 5 years. Let's say you're leaving that money in for 5 years. The T is 5. This will tell you what this amount's going to grow to. It's not a lot. It's a few dollars. And then you're going to be taxed on it. So you're going to lose a little bit more on that. So, all right. So I'm going to type this in. So this is the number I'm typing in. So now in the power, this thing is the power. So that 0.05 times 5 is in the power. So in fact, I'm going to type that in. 0.005 times 5. This turns out to be 0.025.
Like from pension and stuff, my brother got like $5,000 back from NIAC.
Okay.
NIAC wrote him a check for like $5,000.
So we're gonna come back to that. We're gonna do Henshin Fund today before you guys walk out. Hopefully, if we don't get it today, we'll do it tomorrow. Because I want to talk about how much money has to be in that account.
Or like like him getting all the scholarships and stuff. And him getting these bills and he just paid the bill outright and then they're like, oh, he had enough, and like they wrote him a check and sent it back to him in the mail.
Jeez, that's kind of nice.
You could go to school and get paid.
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, so I'm going to type this in. So this number down here that you're seeing here, I'm going to type that in. So I'm going to show you how to type the little E in my calculator.
That's what he's going to do if Jeremy's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
He's going to go for
Okay.
IMT for diesel tank.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, so
We would be together for diesel tank.
okay, so we got 1,000. Now I'm going to take it times. So I hit the little times button. Now E. On my calculator, the E button is right there. Now it's in blue. So to get to that little blue E, it's E to the X because they want you to put a power up there. I have to hit the little second key. I call it the shift key. And then I'm going to type this little E button. So it gives me a little E on the screen. And now it's waiting for me to type the power. Sometimes after they have a little E with a little caret, a little up arrow key, it's fine. It's telling you to type in a power. Now this power is going to be that 0.025 number that I just came up with. That was the 0.005. And so here's my number.
It was
It was 0.025, but it was 0.005 times 5, right? So that was that number. Yeah. So look at this. Over 5 years, what did that count of grow to? $25.
Wow.
25, 30.
Made $25 over 5 years. That ain't bad. Okay, I just made $25 free dollars by just leaving it in the savings account. You'll be taxed on it, so you're going to lose a little bit of money. You'll probably lose about $5-6 out of that. But I mean, think about this. That was free money. I didn't do anything. I just let it sit there. It grew. $1,000 over 5 years. Now here's the thing. What if we did more than What if we did more than $1,000?
Imagine if you had like,
What? Yeah. What if we had 5,000 in there?
imagine if you had like 50.
So 5,000. Same thing. We're gonna do the E. We're gonna have the same 0.5% for 5 years. Now we grew at $126 because I started with $5,000, right? So now I grew $126 over 5. I just got a free $100 by letting it sit there. What if you let it sit longer? What if instead of 5 years you went 15 years?
Wow.
So
$300.
So now I'm gonna type in my next number. So now this is the only sad part. I'm gonna have to figure out this power. So 0.005 times, let's go 15 years. I don't actually know what that is. So, okay. Whoa, look at this. I let it sit there for 15 years, not just 5 years, 15 years now. This top number, this 0.025, that was for 5 years. But now this is for 15 years. I just made $389. That's if I'm using the 5,000 as my balance, right? Do you see how I'm making money over time? Now, you're thinking, Ward, that was only $300. That was 15 years of my life. Over 15 years, I can make more than $300. I can make $300 a month working somewhere. Agreed.
You can make more
But then you get taxed.
But you get taxed and stuff, right? What if you had a lot more money in that account?
like 70.
What if you had $1 million in that account?
You just low up interest over life.
Yeah. Let's take a look at it. Let's take $1 million. There's $1 million right there. And we're gonna go to the E. We're gonna go that 0.5%, and let's let it sit there for 15 years. Now I made $77,000. Pension fund has a couple $100 million in their account.
Because they get about 80,000 a year.
They get a lot more than that.
More than that.
So here's the thing: if you're sitting on a $100 million account,
That's how.
so let's see, 100 million that's 10 million. There's 100 million, right? Was that 100 million? That's 100 million right there. Okay, 100 million account, 0.5%. This, by the way, this is a savings account. They don't use savings accounts. They use other things that make them more money. And I let it sit there for 15 years. Now I'm making $7 million. $7 million.
No wonder everybody's getting action.
Why do you think they can pay out $5,000 a kid every year?
How much went in there?
You can only get
The last calculation I did, they had like 110 mil, but that was several years ago.
So was it a farmer from around? Or how
Yeah.
did you get
So Henshin was a local, live in this area, farmer that had quite a bit of land and saved up pretty much every penny that he had, and eventually just donated it back to the church and the school.
Oh, nice.
And so when he passed away, he didn't leave anything to his actual family. He left it for everyone else, basically. And so the account grew, and he had a board that ran his financials, so they invested in different accounts. So it makes a lot more money than you think. So, and what they're doing is they're just paying, students and people that use it, they just pay the interest off the top. That's why every year that money goes up and down. So the idea is that when they give away that money to all these kids that need it, they're only spending the interest. They spend every penny of the interest, so they're not getting taxed on it. So they get it back. So now the next year it grows again.
Like
And so
80,000.
yeah, and so they're making a lot of money. And so every year they can grow faster and faster and faster. Now it's on this cycle where it's not going to stop.
Thing is,
And
if your kid goes here, you might get 15 grand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could grow, not probably to that point. I think it's been about the same for a long time. But yeah, they're making some serious money now. And so it's kind of a wicked number when you actually take a look at what they're doing. But again, they're not just doing 0.5%. They're investing in stock markets and stuff that can make them 12%. And so that account is growing, and so they do get taxed on it. And so the problem is, what most people have this problem with is it's not a school-run thing. It is a church board running that account. So there's not a lot of choice in it. So that's why there's a lot of stipulations how you can get it, where you can get it, that type of thing. You have to go to a certain university so many years. You have to be at school for so many years. Like, there's a lot of stipulations to it. You have to be a full-time student. Like, You can't just go into a trade school. There's some things you have to worry about. They've modified some stuff over the years so you can get it.
Dalton got it
So,
because he went to NIAC
yeah.
for like the automotive and stuff.
Yeah,
and
so
diesel.
yeah, there's certain things that now work for it. So just be aware of that.
A lot of the trade schools now work for it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, kind of a cool concept. So I thought that was kind of a fun way to introduce it today.
A lot
Now,
of people that don't use it towards